When you partner with Axon, you immediately gain access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. We carry all major brands and sizes of tires and wheels. We specialize in large diameter wheels for large equipment. We have one of the largest OEM replacement wheel inventories in North America. Known for extreme flotation setups, duals, and triples, we have wheels for all makes and models of tractors, sprayers, combines, and grain carts. If we don't have the wheel in stock, we'll custom build, sandblast, and paint in-house. There isn't a more vast inventory in North America dedicated to helping dealers move more iron. With facilities on the West Coast and in the heart of the Midwest, leverage our 230,000 square feet of indoor inventory to solve any problem a grower may have. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast Markets with Chip Nellinger. This edition of Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by the guys over at Blue Reef Agri Marketing, I guess, because that's who Chip's on here with. I don't know why I said that, but there you go, Chip. You got a free plug there.
Happy to sponsor today, Casey. Happy to sponsor it.
Right on. Well, Chip, we got a lot of crazy things happening right now. If you take a look at the marketplace, all kinds of crazy things are going on. We've talked about weather markets on here before, and kind of leading up to this, we've seen that volatility that you typically see going into one of these weather markets, and we had a big run up the first half of the week on some news about weather news. The various weather models showed rain that didn't come, and then one was showing no rain that was going to, being more accurate. We are up against end of month, end of quarter, so there's going to be some positions that are going to be getting corrected and moved in and out of. But when you take a look what's happened the last couple of days, I believe that's probably more volatility driven by weather than it is end of month and end of quarter.
100% correct, Casey. It's all about weather right now. Welcome to a weather market. I despise them. I hate them because it literally can become just a coin toss as to heads it's going to rain, tails it's not. You see massive volatility in here. It does give us opportunities, right? But boy, they're hard to manage because of exactly what we're seeing. Huge run up in corn and beans. We rallied essentially $1 in corn, $2 in beans in a very short amount of time. And now with some better chances. Now, this isn't like a game changing, it's going to rain 2 inches everywhere. But there are slightly better chances of rain in some of the dry areas of Illinois, as well as some dry areas of Iowa as well. And so the market, now selling off pretty hard going into the end of the week on that slightly wetter forecast. If these rains disappoint again, and it's so dry, the air is so dry out here, it's like a desert, so it's easy for those weather models to over forecast the rains, I guess. Yeah. If we miss them, we could be screaming right back higher again Sunday night and Monday. So this volatility is real. It's here. Seeing 50, 60 cent swings back and forth, I think, is going to be commonplace here over the next 2-3 weeks.
Yep. Okay. I guess I'd like your opinion a little bit on kind of the news that came out yesterday about the EPA coming back and withdrawing some of their stance on biodiesel and what that looks like and some of the subsidies that they're going to throw out towards that and kind of changing their position, not just because kind of changing their positions, kind of being light. They kind of went back and said, we're kind of done with this. So, I mean, I guess, what are your thoughts there? And what do you think that's going to do to the overall soybean market?
Oh, the EPA, right? The farmer's friend, friend. Mm-hmm. I don't, quite honestly, over the last decade, any announcement that the EPA brings out seems to be just flies in the face of agriculture. So not that this one did so much. Okay, so what they came out with were the mandates for the renewable fuels from a diesel, vegetable oil standpoint, renewable biodiesel, and that market. And they were fairly large increases, but not as big an increase as what the market had hoped. And so what that did was we'd seen a huge run up in soy oil. Again, the world vegetable oil market supplies have tightened a little bit. Palm oil really has put a big rally in. And then with the release of this EPA news, it really disappointed the market. And we locked soy oil limit down 2 days ago on Wednesday. And quite honestly, that may be part of or the biggest reason why beans broke and kind of drug corn with it. And we're getting this correction into the end of the week on Friday here. I think as the dust settled a little bit, I think that the cooler heads would say, well, that market, doesn't need the mandate. Like, it's got a real demand base. And so some of the subsidies and mandates, that were used to kind of get the corn side, the ethanol side off the ground, 20, 30 years ago, isn't needed as much. And that market might be able to stand on its own. It's got some real demand, going with these new plants, and there's a market there. And so I think at the end of the day, it was maybe an overreaction. Yes, it was disappointing that the numbers weren't bigger or what the market had expected. Although, quite honestly, I think whenever you talk about the EPA, you should expect disappointment when it comes to any of their announcements. I don't know why government agencies are allowed to, not follow the law or just kind of give their own, deadlines don't matter. We might come out with a ruling today. It might be next week. Maybe we'll push it 3 months. We'll do it when we want, and we won't follow any of the laws on the books. That's a different podcast, Casey. But at the end of the day, I don't think it changes things dramatically. I don't think it's like a death blow to the, this new, renewable diesel market that we've got going here in the United States. At the end of the day, right now, it's still about production, and we got some real issues going on in the world vegetable oil markets. Obviously, we've got a real issue here brewing in the United States with the potential production problem, and that's going to drive things in the short run here because the market's still tight, right? Argentina they're just not going to have much in the way of soy oil or soy meal to export to the world right now. They're importing beans from Brazil,
right?
And so we need a bean crop here. And right now, I've driven around, an hour south of here, an hour northwest of here. Here meaning kind of central Illinois, Peoria, and this crop around here is not good. And beans, surprisingly, look worse than corn in my opinion. So at the end of the day, it was some disappointment. We kind of repriced soy oil for a minute, shook some weak longs out. It probably caused a big portion of the break that we saw in the bean market. It may have even spilled over and caused some profit taking in corn. But I think at the end of the day, we're going to come in Sunday night and Monday and look at the forecast and say, did it rain? What was the coverage? And what's the next 2 weeks look like as far as rainfall? Because you're getting to the point of no return on some of these crops. Like, we've limped it along and we've had rain in the forecast, the past 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It hasn't hit, but we can only go so long right now. And you're about to the stage where if we don't get rain by the 4th of July, there's crops here that are irreversibly damaged. And then it becomes how far below trend line yields are we going to get? And that's going to overshadow any of the EPA news that was out here. So that was a long, rambling answer, Casey. I don't know. I don't know if this is live or not, but you may want to edit half that out. I get to rambling when you know how to push my buttons when you just say, like, what do you think about the acreage report coming up? Let's talk about that. What do you think about the EPA?
The reason I ask you those questions is because I have about the same reaction that you do. So I just want to make sure I'm not on an island.
Well, good. I'm glad I'm not alone too.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about demand real quick as you look at what's going on with demand. And on the sidebar real quick, kind of a ancillary point to what you made there. Got a friend of mine that works up in Indianapolis in that area, and for a dealer up there, and he driving back across I-80 and said that the best corn that he saw from all the way down to Omaha where he's living at right now, transitioning around. The best corn he saw was in your area, so that kind of tells you what to tell the tape is across there. So
that's surprising. I would say that corn it looks surprisingly good, right? The color of it is holding together, but it is really stressed, and I think it's a little bit misleading because like yesterday I drove down like an hour south to Springfield area. I saw some waist-high corn that was tasseling. Like, it's not a good thing, and it's gone. I don't know when he took that trip, but it is dramatically deteriorated in the last week, and if it was 2 weeks ago, that was probably the case. It's been up in the 90s, low to mid 90s, and our humidity is very low, and the wind's blowing, and it's just taking a toll on this crop on a daily basis without rain now.
Yep. All right, so let's talk a little bit about demand as you take a look where we're at with the cattle and feed reports that we're seeing, the amount of hogs that are getting pushed through right now. We got that Prop 12 thing out in California. You got the African swine fever thing still going like crazy over in China, and you're looking at a massive crop in Brazil. It just feels like demand's not where it needs to be right now to see things take off and run like they should be. If we come up short in the United States with soybeans and corn, we're already short on the wheat crop. Taking a look at that. With the pressure that we're seeing, we're not seeing the explosion in the market that you typically would see. And I guess, Chip, looking at where that lines up with demand, it feels like that's what the big driving factor is with some of these crops.
That's the issue for the corn market, especially. I think beans have a little different demand structure and tighter, potentially on the balance sheet than corn. Here's the take home on corn. This crop right now, this 22 crop, what we call the old crop, we're still in that marketing year until the end of August, right? And we're struggling to even hit the demand numbers that the USDA has pegged. They're likely going to have to pull the ethanol number down just a little bit. And our exports this morning, case in point, like 1.5 million bushels. And so for next year, for the new crop, they have that total demand 800 million bushels higher than this year. Well, we're not even hitting the number this year. So that's going to be the balance between the supply side and the demand side. And we just don't know, are we a 177 national average yield or are we 157, right? And it, depending on the next 2 or 3 weeks of rainfall, will tell you which edge of that we're closer to. So the supply still does matter, but what you're going to run into going forward as the USDA starts pulling down the yield, they're also correspondingly going to start dropping demand. And the end result, I think, unless it is a real disaster and just doesn't rain for the month of July as well, right. That it's going to be tough at the end of the day to get our carryout, to a bullish enough level to talk about, hey, we need to go $7.50, $8, something like that. Could we spend some time north of 6? Absolutely. Could we challenge 7? We sure could. But that's going to be the struggle going forward, is demand's going to be pulled down as the yield is. I don't think they have the same luxury on the bean side, though. And so, to me, maybe the bean yields, that bean market could be more explosive than corn, because I don't think there's the cushion on demand to pull that down as much as or as fast as they can on the corn. And to your point, cattle numbers, 60-year lows. We've seen liquidation in hogs. I don't think the poultry numbers are back up to where they were. Our ethanol numbers probably going to fall a little bit short, and exports are just horrendous right now. Yeah. And so it doesn't mean we can't rally, and we will rally, especially if we don't get these rains that are in the forecast, here over the next week. But it's going to be somewhat curtailed by the demand that likely needs to be pulled a lot lower, regardless of crop size. And going higher only exaggerates that more. If we end up at 7 or north, that's just going to hurt corn demand even more. Yeah. And so you got to rambling again. You got to look at the 24 crop as well, because that demand, the higher we go now, the more that demand will get hurt, and it takes a while to fix demand. You don't just snap a finger and get demand back. You have to go through an ugly process of going lower to stimulate demand, and that's never fun for a producer.
Well, and here's one of the key arguments I think that people share, conversations anyway, people should be talking about right now. You look at demand and the way it is today, and then you take a look at 2024 being an El Nino year, and we have a massive, huge crop, and Brazil has a massive, huge crop again. All of a sudden, you set a stage where you have a massive, huge crop coming in, and demand staying similar to what it is. I mean, that's a huge issue coming up.
Huge issue. And keep in mind, we've had 3 droughts in a row in South America. Now, I don't know the exact statistics. I talked to a weather guy. He said 3 in a row is very rare, and I'm not sure that they've ever had 4 in a row. And we've had a couple here, right? So to your point, Murphy's Law, we curtail demand, and one of these years, Mother Nature is going to cooperate across the globe in both hemispheres. South America, we don't know Brazil's just a sleeping giant, right, with the production potential they have. Argentina will bounce back with the crop. We will plant a lot of acres and have a big crop, and it will be a long hangover with a lot of supply hanging over this market. So that's a hard curve to be on, right? Because usually when that happens, it happens fast, and prices drop faster than what inputs go down. So that's what we're going to face at some point. With that cliff, we're going to have to jump over that cliff at some point, I'm afraid.
Yep. Yeah, and that's going to be you go back and look at 2012, and we're kind of setting the table for that. We're kind of running the same angle into 2012, and you look at what kind of where we're at, and we had that huge run up, but the backside off of that $7-8 corn, I think corn got to $8.25 or something like that, the high, and then it took it a year to knock off almost half of that going into 2013, 2014. We were looking at $3.75, $4.25, $4.50 corn, and that was due to that. I mean, we went from not much supply, demand was kind of structured low, and now you got this huge explosion of crops across the globe, and the demand stayed the same.
Exactly. It literally took 10 years to fix that problem because $8 corn after the 2012 drought, the high prices brought in so many extra acres, right? I mean, the old saying, the cure for high prices is high prices, and vice versa, the cure for low price. It's because the market works, right? Like if we continue to let the market be free, it will work. High prices bring in extra acres, it slows demand down. Low prices pull those marginal acres back out, increases demand, and you get those cycles where you get opportunities to make profits. It's so corn, beans, wheat, for the most part, still free markets. Let's hope they stay that way for a long time, and other markets get freer.
Right. I kind of understand. So if I'm understanding what you're saying, let the free market work freely. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's amazing how good it works.
I'm a free man. Yeah. It works. It works. Anytime you start messing with supply or demand or subsidies, or this is a whole nother podcast as well. But the free market works if you let it. Supply and demand, the law of supply and demand. I was an econ major, so I'm kind of one of those geeky guys, and you don't need to even major in it or get a PhD. Just take an Econ 101, supply and demand curve. It works. There's no question it works.
Yep. It's the one thing historically that shows works. Historically, it's always worked.
We're human beings, and we like to meddle in things, and the more you stick your fingers in that supply demand curve, the more messed up it becomes, and the more pain it causes to some or many parties.
Ain't that the truth? All right, one more thing. looking at this Prop 12 decision out of California where they decided to move it back 6 months. California is notorious for we're doing this tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes. They're like, well, maybe we should wait a little bit. Your reaction to that, I guess, long term, is this going to be another one of those, in your opinion, I guess, as you look at this, every 6 months, you're going to push it back 6 months, I guess?
Well, I don't know. I don't think so. Here's my take on it. And there's still a little gray area, I guess. So I think they are still going through with it. What the pushback or change was that they're going to allow pork that was in the system, so to speak, or in the freezer prior to July 2nd to still move through the system. And they kind of said, without saying, we're not really going to police it for 6 months. But I think they're serious, again, boy, you're pushing all the right buttons today, Casey. Like, I think they're serious. I think it's gonna go through. It doesn't, like, again, back to the free market, right? Like, this is meddling with the free market, mandating all these environmental issues, right? And so there's an agenda that doesn't match reality, and I don't think that I think they're going to see it through to the end. So I think, yes, maybe we've got a 6 month reprieve here of they're going to allow some pork that isn't compliant into the system, and but after that, I think they're serious, and I think it's unfortunately probably just the start of a lot more regulation in agriculture. And I know there's a lot of people out there talking about this, but I think it's something that we really, in agriculture, really need to wrap our brains around. And you sit there and you think, well, surely, rational people won't allow that to happen. And it's not about rationality or, it's the craziest thing that I've ever seen. Some of these policies around energy and agriculture, and they're coming for us, unfortunately.
Yeah, you are correct, sir. So, as Ed McMahon used to say. So there's.
But back to your pork. I mean, I think the question is, I think it's a real thing. I think it's something the pork industry has adjusted to, and we're seeing some liquidation here. And again, it's going what it's going to do is mess up the free market, right? I wouldn't want to be buy a pork chop in LA next year, because it's going to be about the price of a T-bone.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very pricey for sure. And who knows what's going to happen between now and then too. They could be, it's there, but if we catch you, you're in trouble type of thing. You know what I mean?
Casey, one more thing on my ramble here. The probably of anything, the hog sector right now is seeing a lot of pain. And so the effect of this is going to be just higher prices for everyone, right? Because you're liquidating producers, some independents I know that have held on for a long time. They're going out. Somebody told me the other day that a big operation liquidated 300,000 sows. 300,000 really? Sows. Wow. So there's no profitability out there on top of this, Proposition 12. So end result is you're messing with the free market. It's going to, even if you're not in California, you could be in Texas, Florida, South Carolina, the freest, of the free states. Pork is going to go up because now we've messed with supply and demand. It's unprofitable, and you're going to decrease supply. And, it's just case in point about letting the market do its thing. So the hog industry has some issues in front of it, to say the least. I mean, they are dealing with high feed costs to begin with, and now this, and boy, the hog industry has some serious problems right now.
Yep, for sure. All right, Chip, good place to stop. Folks want to reach out to you and get more information about what's going on over at Blue Reef, what's the best way to do that?
Just great news ahead of this weekend, right? Man, I might get some calls and requests for some anti-depression medication or something. Sorry, I don't mean to be a black cloud.
No, you're the thing about what's going on right now, Chip, is that it sucks and it's horrible news, but I mean, we can sometimes I watched a show it was on Netflix, and it was called Don't Look Up or something like that. It's about a group of people there's an asteroid coming to Earth, and they kept telling them it's fake, don't look up. And then one day somebody looks up and it's 2 days from hitting Earth, so and everybody's like, oh no, it's real now.
Yeah.
So it's the same concept. You can sit here and hide your head in the sand all you want to, but at the end of the day, it's happening. And you got to have your plan in place, because if you're doing the 300,000 South thing, that's a great example of that. I mean, that's a lot of piglets that aren't going to get born.
It definitely is.
You know what I mean? So that, like your supply and demand thing, 101, right?
Exactly.
When demand or supply goes down, demand goes up, so do prices, and that's just what it is. So not much easier thing. You're right. Economics is one of those things that people try to make difficult, but it's
really pretty easy.
You can really boil it down to something pretty simple that anybody can understand.
Yeah, you really. I've thought about this. You can teach it to kindergartners. You just get some marbles, or you can teach, rudimentary economics. You can also teach them about taxation as well with little pieces of candy.
Yeah.
Or at Halloween, that's a good time to teach about Uncle Sam's taxation.
Yeah, that's I do that with my kids. This is what it looks like. My son mows grass, and then we kind of go through the same thing. And I go, okay, so now you owe me this amount of money to use my stuff. And he's like, wait a minute, hold on a second. I went out and did all the work with my equipment, so you owe me. And it's just playing just to teach that fact. But you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that difficult to get your head wrapped around it, and to pay attention to what's going on around you and see what happens. Anyone can see what's coming at us, and it's more expensive everything, whether it's gas or oil or hogs, whatever it is,
and more regulations too. And I'm a slow learner. I've just finally come around over the last year, just looking at some of these energy policies out of Europe. You're like, okay, you read a news story, right, and you're like, well, no one's going to do, like, no one in their right mind would do that. Like, it's not even logical. And they do it. And you're like, oh no, this isn't about what's right or what makes sense. It's about something entirely different. And to think that, it's not going to happen in ag is crazy. It already is. And it's probably going to get worse, unfortunately.
Yep.
So
absolutely. It's good times. All right, man.
Good time, but it's still the best industry in the world. It's the backbone of the United States, and it feeds the world. So let's try to protect it.
You would think that would be a strategy that would be on a lot of people's lists, but when food only comes from the grocery store, you know what I mean, and that's your perception of it.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to get your head wrapped around that.
That's for sure. That is for sure.
All right, man. What's the best way to get a hold of you over at Blue Reef?
Yeah, best way, just call our office, 309-550-7213. That's our main office in Morton, and we'd love to chat with you. Hopefully it's not, calls like, hey, I hate mail, so to speak. Too depressing. I don't want to be depressing.
Yeah. You just tell them you don't speak any English, and you hang up, and then you get to go that way. That's what I
connection. I'm sorry, we're having a bad connection.
Yeah. Either way, it'll be fun. It'll be a fun conversation. So
that will. Yes. Yeah. Don't hesitate to call us. Either way, tell me that you think I'm crazy, or tell me that you're dead on, and tell me what your crops look like, and love to chat with you.
Right on. Well, Chip, appreciate you taking time, man.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on, Casey.
Right on. I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC, LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast. Check out the video version of this over on the YouTube channel, which is the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel. So check it out there. Go to Moving Iron LLC for everything Moving Iron related and all the information for the Moving Iron Summit coming up here in Nashville, Tennessee, September 11th through the 13th. Be one of the first 150 people to sign up, and you will get $50 off your discount. If you want to take advantage of that, hurry up and do that because there's only a few spots left on that list. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour with Chip Nellinger. Let's go move some iron, folks. Out.
Moving iron in the 21st century.